This is LOA Recon with Good Vibe Coach Jeanette Ma, where we explore the ins and outs of conscious creation to manifest our favorite dreams come true. Let's have some fun together. Welcome and thank you for tuning in for another episode. I just realized I'm sweating. I'm nervous with what I'm going to share today. Wait, let's begin with a reminder of how much you love me. Hey, seriously, thank you for the reminders, y'all. I really appreciate it. The positive emails, the comments, the reviews. In fact, there was a really fabulous comment on a recent episode that reads, "Thank you for sharing your good feeling, energy, and enthusiasm. Just when I think I have listened to a favorite podcast episode of yours, there is another and another and another." I love that. Thank you, Donna. Much appreciated. Ooh, and I just realized, Donna, you know what? Today's episode might not be for you. In fact, today's episode is not going to be for a lot of people. It is not for everyone. This subject it can be offensive. It could be kind of controversial. Even if it suits you today, it might not work for you tomorrow. So I'd like you to tune into your guidance to see if it's really time to listen to this. It might be worth skipping. It might be waiting until you are interested in a new perspective on problems. Because like I said, my take on this is not for everyone and it is not for all occasions. That's my official disclaimer. But it's been rattling around in my head ever since I mentioned it a while ago on a GVU call. I mentioned it briefly and someone asked me to elaborate on it. So this idea won't go away. So this is me elaborating on it. I'm sharing out of respect for persistent inspiration. In this episode, I'm going to tell you how I accidentally solved a really big problem. And I'm not sharing it because I expect you to also somehow accidentally stumble on solutions to your really big problems. In fact, we already know solutions to big problems. This happened to me earlier in the year. This is well before I did the episode on solving impossible problems, which is really cool. This was well before that. So we know how to do that now. But I'm sharing this experience because I think we can all learn from my example. I mean, I've certainly been reminding myself of how it works with great success. So I'm going to share it with you in case it gives you some good stuff too. Here's what happened. Okay, I had a big problem on my hands. It was causing me some very significant stress and anxiety. It was ruining my good time. Like I'd felt like I had a pretty good life until this. And all of a sudden, I was not liking life anymore. This was weighing on me. It was clouding otherwise perfectly enjoyable moments in life. Like it was always present, always pressing down on me. It was a big problem. And no one could fix it. There wasn't anything that could be done. I'd already tried. It just wasn't something that would fix. Again, if anyone is relating to that, I have a recent episode on how to solve impossible problems that could be really cool, but this is a different take on it. So I'm believing in this giant problem that's, of course, only getting bigger because I'm all dialed on it. And it's making me think that I might have to take some seriously drastic action to get away from it, except I know that routine doesn't work. I can't get away from whatever I'm resisting. I just make it bigger as long as I'm pushing against it. But I also didn't know how to stop. I giggled a little bit right there as I said that. There was no giggling at this time. There was none. It was serious. And I didn't appreciate anyone in my life who didn't understand how serious a problem it was. I'm laughing now because I'm in hindsight. But at the time, there was nothing funny about it. I can't even tell this story without laughing. Trust me, at the time, I was not laughing. I did not know how to stop it. I didn't know how to let it be okay. And it was well beyond my ability to imagine it differently. It was well beyond that. I was just smack dab in the middle of a big problem that I could not get out of. It was not an exaggeration to say it was ruining my life, okay? That's where I was. And then something happened. I'm having trouble remembering the exact details of what happened, and that is a really good thing, because the thing that happened, it was not good. It was not good, and it was happening on a whole different topic of my life. I love that I cannot remember the details. I think it was one of my dogs. I think one of my dogs was having a health scare, like maybe even a life or death scare. And at the time, I didn't know that it was just a scare. I thought one of my dog's existence here on the planet might actually be at risk. And again, I love that I cannot remember the details of this because I do not want those things in my head anymore. But what I do remember, oh man, it brought me to my knees. Like very few things bring me to my knees. This one did. It had to have been Harvey, right? It had to have been Harvey. I don't remember what it was, but something made me terrified for his well-being. It might have even been for his very life. And maybe it was one of my cats. Maybe it was Merlin. I don't know. I don't think it was. But I do remember my terror at this very terrible thing that my most loved one was facing. I remember that part. It was the most awful thing I could contemplate. And I wasn't just contemplating it, it was happening. This terrible, terrible, way more terrible than anything else thing was happening. At least it looked like it was. It was bad. It was really, really bad. And all of a sudden, that other problem I had, that great big unsolvable problem, it was a joke. It was a joke of a problem. It was a giant joke that I'd even dared to worry about it. That it had cost me any sleep was ridiculous because it was the most inconsequential thing ever in comparison to this real problem. Because now I know what a real problem is. That other thing was not a problem. That was not a problem. I don't know how I could even believe that it was a problem. Because I understood real problems now. This was a legit problem. That other thing, it was just a thing that happens in life sometimes. It was not a problem. How could I ever even think it was that? It was just an event. It was an event that I would love. For that to be the thing that was bothering me, I would welcome it as the worst thing that was happening. I would embrace it wholeheartedly. I could make peace with that thing so easy. I could celebrate it. That thing was still happening. That other thing did not go away, but it just wasn't a problem the way I had believed it to be before because now I had a real problem. It just put it in the kind of perspective that allowed me to see it very, very, very differently. I understood real problems now, and that other thing was not it. It was a joke of a problem. In some people's worlds, some would they would welcome it. They would know this was not a problem. Some people would love it. And there I was, daring to resist it. I dared to think it was ruining my good life when it wasn't even a real problem, because I understood real problems now. Yeah. So while I was looking at this complete, legit, real problem that I have, and obviously we can see where it came from, because here I was all dialed on. I got a real problem, and universe is getting that from me. It's reading my instruction list saying, oh, hey, everyone, Jeanette's got a great big problem. It's big. It's real. Who's got more real big problems we can send her way? It needs to be really good. It needs to be really big because she's got a serious problem. And universe said, ta-da, we got just a thing. Harvey. It knew how to deliver me a real problem. Universal manager said, perfect, send it in. That'll do the trick. Anyway, we know where it came from. And I'm aware of this. And I'm kind of marveling about how that other thing cost me any sleep at all. I can't believe I let it cost me a moment's worth of joy in my life. And it didn't anymore. All of a sudden, I didn't even have any room to take it seriously. It was so trivial. It was so inconsequential. It was not the big scary thing I thought it was. It was a non-thing now. It was not a problem anymore. This other thing was the problem. It was the big scary. It was the thing with my most loved one, the worst possible thing happening. Some of you might be wondering, look, how can the Good Vibe Coach get so sideways? Someone who's so LOA savvy. Well, you know how? It starts with the little things. Undoubtedly, it started with some minor grievance that got enough attention to snowball into a big thing that just kept getting bigger. All right, so look, I can't tell you why I was better at managing my for real biggest problem. I was. I don't know why. I don't know why I was better at the the serious one than the other one that turned out to be minuscule in comparison. Maybe it was because I got a little story about myself about how I don't pull out my best manifesting skills until it really matters. Because I mean, I'd have told you it really mattered before, but oh my gosh, that didn't even matter remotely in comparison to something going wrong, like the real thing going wrong. They didn't even compare. Or maybe it was because that other one didn't involve a loved one. Maybe it was because it was just me that it affected and no one else. I don't know. Maybe it was because I have more experience in resolving problems with my fur babies. Maybe I'm just better at it. Or maybe it was because of the stronger desire. We know the power of stronger desire. We know what a powerful manifesting element it is to want something so strongly. And trust me, my desire, I think it was Harvey. Again, I can't remember exactly, but it must have been. And I don't know that desire is going to get any stronger than it does there. But I don't know. I don't know why I was better at managing using my LOA skills on the real problem than I was on the other one. But I did. I got on the vibrational wavelength of handled and all is well here. I imagined my relief at the outcome. You know what? That's exactly what I did. That's how we solve impossible problems. That's what I was doing on this other one. Anyway, I did all the things I knew to do when it was time for a solution. And the solution came, and everything was fine. And it turned out just to be a brief scare because I got my freaking vibrational act together instead of letting it get out of more hand. So everyone's thriving now. But here's why I'm telling you this. This is why I love this story, this experience of mine. Because it taught me not to believe in big problems like I used to. Something within me broke about believing in problems anymore. Because I realized I might be looking at something that looks like a real problem. It might sound like one. It might feel like one. But it's probably not. I know I've been fooled before. I believed it was a real problem, and then I saw, ta-da, this is not a problem. It was ridiculous. You ever thought that it was? I learned that I can be fooled about it. And you know what? Every day, I talk to someone who is just as fooled as I was at that time. I was believing in my problem. They're believing in their problems like they're real, like they're legit. And you know what? They aren't. These are not, most of the time, these are not real problems. No one's brought something to me yet that felt like a real problem because I've seen the truth of it. I've seen these problems. They're flimsy. They don't hold up. They don't hold up. It's just not the problem that it seems like. Harvey's having a big dream right now. If you hear something disturbing in the background, he's got something exciting happening in his dream. So I know those problems can seem convincing. I know they can seem legit, but they're probably faking it. Or you're probably faking it. They aren't the things we think they are when we're believing in them. And look, I suspect we believe in problems for good reasons. We need contrast, or we don't need it, but we benefit from contrast every once in a while in order to strengthen some desires to expand our world. So they have a proper role. It's okay to believe in them sometimes for a while, but let's not get out of hand with it. Girl, I'm talking to my own self as I say that, because I got out of hand with it. We probably have the best of intentions as we're believing in our problems. So I'm not trying to blame us for seeing things incorrectly, for our ridiculous ability to believe in big problems. I'm saying this so that we can free ourselves of big problems. Because if we keep that vibration up, I don't need to tell you what happens. I don't need to elaborate. You know. And there's no need to scare ourselves about this. Scaring ourselves into alignment probably isn't the best approach. Although I wonder if that's what happened for me. I wonder if I just got so scared I finally called a halt to it. You know, like a timeout. Like, okay, timeout. You know, every once in a while on a reality show when everyone's competing with each other and then something like someone has an injury or someone gets like, and then they all stop the game for a minute. Isn't it? Don't you love when that happens? Maybe I just got so scared I finally said, okay, that's enough. I don't know. Here's what I do know. This is why I think I broke out in a sweat at the thought of sharing this idea with you, is because I want to say that I believe, and I like this belief, maybe you will too, real problems are rare. They're so rare, I'm not even entirely sure that I believe in them anymore. I think I'm more likely to run into a unicorn out on the front street instead of a real problem. At least that's what I believe when I'm in my right mind. And I think that's why I want to record this, to be on the record, to help remind me again the next time I might be believing in a problem. Because my thought process on this is, if I got fooled about that one that I was believing was a problem, and I'm specifically not telling you the details of it for two reasons. First, I don't want to activate it again. And two, I don't want you to dismiss it as ridiculous and think this story doesn't apply to you or it can't help you because you know for sure your problem is way better than mine was. All right. So I'm not sharing the details of it on purpose, of my ridiculous problem. But you know what? Even my real problem was not a real problem. It was just better at faking it than the other one was. Because I'm legitimately starting to think there's no such thing as a real problem. Not really. Maybe there's an appropriate time and place for us to believe in them for a minute, but I think we're fooling ourselves when we believe in them. There's just us and this adventure of life, and there are no excuses good enough to justify not having fun here, not having a good time with what we're doing. Why would we ever stop enjoying the time we have in these amazing lives that we're living? And you know what? Even as I say that, I feel like I might not be doing justice to your experience. You can have a problem if you like. You can believe in it if you like. You can believe it to be big and giant and real and legit if you want. There are likely some situations and experiences that maybe fall into that category. I wouldn't talk anyone out of it unless you paid me to, and then I will. Or at least I'll do my best to help you see it differently. But you know what? Even when it seems like the worst thing, even when it's like the death of our most loved one, or even our own death, or the death of our planet, or worse, maybe we don't get to die. We have to keep living the miserable experience we've painted ourselves into. Even then, I can legitimately say, as a result of that experience of seeing my giant problem shrink into nothing, I can say whatever we're looking at, this is not a problem. This is not a problem. And that isn't going to land with everyone. Not at all times. Even the things that seem so ridiculously big to be problems, I can't be fooled as easily as I was before, and I really don't want to let anyone talk me into it being a real problem, because it's way better. I'm much more empowered when I'm not believing that. I'm like 5% nervous that I might forget this insight and go back to believing in big problems. And that's one reason I'm sharing this. It's for my own benefit as well. But the other reason I'm telling you this about this experience that I had is so maybe you don't have to go through what I did in order to maybe see problems in a different light. I've got this little fantasy, this secret little fantasy where clients are lined up and they're coming to me with their problems. Like they're bringing me their best, biggest problems. No clients, no money, no house, no home, no lovers, no friends, terrible family, bad job, nightmare boss, the wrong president, no justice, no help with anything or whatever they present to me. And in my heart of hearts, every single one of them, I can say, not a real problem. Not a real problem. Your best friend betrayed you with your spouse? Not a problem. Your entire fortune lost to a frivolous lawsuit? Wow, definitely not a problem. Your entire neighborhood burned down? Wow. Okay, that giant sucks, but it's still not a problem. I know I can't help anyone anyway if I'm believing in their problem, because then there's two of us that are stuck in it, trying to figure out how to get rid of this bad thing in their life. So I think it's empowering to have this perspective. And who loves it as much as I do that I can't even remember what seemed like the real problem that shrunk my other one down to nothing. It's like erased from my memory. Thank you, angels. But the knowledge that problems aren't real, I still have that one. I still have that. Praise the Lord for however long I keep that knowledge. And may it be yours as well, if you choose to dial down the drama in your own world to make room for more love and appreciation and good times and joy or whatever else it is that you would rather. Thanks for listening, everyone. Happy manifesting.